Here we need to solve the equation 1 over x plus 1 over y equals 1 over 5. And we need to find all possible values of x and y, where x and y are positive integers. First of all, notice that since x and y are positive, 1 over x and 1 over y are positive. And since their sum equals to 1/5, that means that each of them are less than 1/5. And that means that x and y have to be both greater than 5. This equation deals with the fractions, but I'm looking for integer solutions, and therefore it's easier for me to deal with the equation that deals with integer values. So what we need to do here is to convert these fractions into integers. To do that, we need to get rid of denominators. And to do that, we just simply multiply this equation by all the denominators, by 5, by x, and by y. And if we do, this is what we're going to get. We can rearrange it, and we find that what we have on the left is a product of 5 and a positive integer, x plus y. So it means that the left-hand side is divisible by 5. And therefore, the right-hand side also has to be divisible by 5. Since 5 is a prime number and we can't really split it in two parts, it means that we can't kind of distribute 5 between x and y. We have to either have 5 in x or in y. So let's assume here that x is divisible by 5. If you do, we can rewrite x as 5 times x prime, where x prime is some positive integer. Now you could ask a question, well, what if it's not x, it's y that is divisible by 5? Well, that's a possibility. And in general, you would need to consider that possibility as well. In our case, we got lucky, and that's because if you look at the original equation, we find this equation is symmetric with respect to x and y. So if we find some solution with some specific x and y, and if we flip it or switch it, we make y equal to x and x equal to y, we find that is also a solution of this equation. So in this case, what it means that we don't need to consider a separate case when y is divisible by 5. What we need to do, we need to find the solutions for x divisible by 5, and then simply swap x and y and get the solutions for y divisible by 5. Now let's just continue, and what we're going to do now, we're going to substitute this value of x into this equation, divide this equation by 5, and now let's rearrange the terms. We'll take this 5x prime to the other side. And what we find here is that y equals to x prime times y minus 5, which is a positive integer since y is greater than 5. But what this means is that y is divisible by x prime. So in this case, we can write y as x prime times some positive integer y prime. And what we're going to do now, again, we're going to substitute this value of y into this equation. And now we divide the left and right hand side of this equation by x prime. And now we're going to take this y prime and move to the other side. And what we find now is that the product of y prime and x prime minus 1 equals to 5. So the product of two positive integers equals to 5. 5 is a prime number. The only possibilities we have is either 5 equals to 1 times 5 or 5 times 1. So we have two options, either to have y prime as 1 and x prime minus 1 is 5, or the other way around, y prime is 5 and x prime minus 1 as 1. In the first case, we have y prime equals to 1 and x prime equals to 6. And we're going to substitute these values for y prime and x prime into the equation for y and for x. And if we do, we get a solution of our original equation where x equals to 30 and y equals to 6. In the second case, we have y prime equals to 5 and x prime equals to 2. Again, we're substituting them here. And we get another solution where x and y both equal to 10. And now the last thing we need to do, we need to remember that we got these answers assuming that x is divisible by 5. Now we need to consider a separate case when y is divisible by 5. But as I said, what we need to do in this case, we simply need to swap x and y in these equations to get the solutions. Obviously, swapping x and y equals to 10 doesn't going to give us anything new, but swapping 30 and 6 will give us the third solution, which is x equals to 6 and y equals to 30.